exactly right. Say 3, 4 hours, I was gone. But yet this lady somehow recognized something. That's one important thing I want to tell everybody is that it's okay to ask if a veteran is okay or not. It's okay. Because if she hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be here. I promise you I wouldn't.
Vehicle are taking fire on primary and secondary positions, requesting immediate engagement and overhead control. Engage.
Everyone, welcome back to the Not So Special Forces podcast. Got a kick-ass episode today. Going to get you introduced to a former U.S. Marine. This is episode 21. I'm excited, man. This is great. So let's go ahead and get you introduced to you, and we're going to get feet wet with Mike Russell. Mike, welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Yeah. So, I'm thrilled that we got here. It was, you got a very busy schedule over today and the next couple of days. And just the time that you've have been able to share with us today for the podcast, man, is awesome. So I can't wait to get into this. You've got an amazing story. And in order for you to get here today with, like I said, with your crazy schedule and what you got coming up, it's an honor, man, and I truly appreciate the time that you've taken to be with me here today, man. So thank you.
Appreciate it too. I'm looking forward to getting into some of this and, letting some other people know how they can help themselves and how I've been doing.
Hell yeah, man. So, I mean, that's what it's all about. One of the things that we spoke about on the phone the other day is getting the word out, making sure that every Marine, every U.S. veteran, I don't care, Army, Navy, Air Force, Space Force, whoever, Coast Guard, we all have these challenges, and you have a unique challenge, but when you get into it, it's really not so unique. We got a lot of veterans out there that need help. And like I've said before in many other episodes and talking with many other vets, we wouldn't have a need for some of the groups that you're involved with if the VA was able to take care of everyone. I think we've all come to the accepting the fact that the VA is not able to handle everyone always. And unfortunately, that's the case. But fortunately, there's some great groups out there. And you're going to get us introduced to one or two groups that were able to get you. One group we already know about, we'll get into it. But the other group out there, we don't know about yet. So just, I can't wait to get into it, man, and let our fellow veterans and other listeners of the podcast know that there are options out there. So this is going to be cool, man. So
yes,
let's take it back to the beginning, Mike. Let's talk about you, man. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Fort Worth, Texas. So I know that very well. Didn't really do a whole lot. I played baseball when I was younger. High school, I was playing baseball, and I was actually in high school when they changed from A through F in grades to a point system. I was no longer playing baseball.
Oh.
So I actually was pretty good at it. I wasn't the best, but I enjoyed it. Didn't do a whole lot, just tried to make it through life, really.
Were you, so besides baseball, what else did you do to keep yourself busy, man? You're out there getting into trouble at all?
Not really. I had to work from an early age, so basically I was working from my freshman year till now. So I didn't have a father. So I had to learn a lot of things on my own, do a lot of dumb mistakes. And then my senior year kind of took a turn for the worst. Few weeks, the first month of high school, my senior year, I found out I had stage 4 cancer, and I wasn't going to live to see Christmas of that year unless I had 2 emergency surgeries. So that kind of threw my plans out because I wanted to join the Marine Corps. It's the only thing I wanted to do. I didn't have firemen and cops and doctors and stuff like that in my family, so I saw a lot of uniforms. So I just kind of grew up wanting to do that.
So how long was that process of then? I mean, that's not an issue that too many people at a young age got to deal with, thankfully, but you got hit by it. So what was that cancer like for you, man? Was it just the 1 or 2 surgeries you were done with it, or was it quite some recovery time? Because I'm thinking, if I remember talking to you correctly, you joined the Marine Corps at a little bit of a later age because you had to prove to them that you were past all that.
Right. It was kind of detrimental when you're talking about a 17, 18-year-old boy that just trying to learn life itself, much less trying to make it through it. I took a turn for the worse. I got in trouble with alcohol at a young age after high school. But most of my senior year, except for graduation, I was at home doing homeschool. The requirement is that I had to wait 5 years before I could join. And then they told me I had to wait another 5 years. So 11 years after high school, I took the ASVAB, but as a crayon eater, that's the kind of score I got on the ASVAB. But I mean, trials and tribulations. Looking back on it now, I got 2 DUIs. That was about 37 years ago. Not so proudly, but kind of proudly of it now. For the simple fact that I've got a couple of vets that are now sober for a minimum of at least 4 years. So I was able to speak on that behalf from that standpoint and how my life spiraled out of control. Based on that was my only dream in life. I had no fallback that I knew. No opportunities for me in high school or out of high school. My junior and senior year, I worked third shift at a grocery store, come home, went to school, got out of school, went to driver's ed, and went back to work. So it was a little rough, but I like the experience now on the hindsight 2020 and looking back on everything. It kind of somewhat shaped me into what I was now or am now, but it was a pretty tough road. I never could seem to make the right decisions. It kind of screwed my brain up to where, even if I thought about it or did what people told me, I still always ended up making the wrong mistakes. So that's kind of basically it. But it's life experiences that we don't think about at the time. We're just young kids trying to make it through life, whether we have 2 parents, 1 parent, or no parent at all. There's no book on it. There's no right way or wrong way. But I think our experiences of screwing up helps us make better decisions as we get older.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I want to ask you about that was when you were going through all that at such a young age, you had the cancer, you had you were battling, drinking and all that. Did you have a victim mentality at all during that time, or did you have more of like a rebel type of attitude about it?
It was more of I'm pissed off at the fucking world attitude. My mom was crying because I didn't come home when I went and saw the specialist, and I was finding out that because my doctor that gave birth to me, Dr. Ward, he was my doctor all the way through high school as well. He sent me to a specialist, and that's when they determined that I had cancer, and I didn't come home for 2 days. In my day in Texas, I could walk into a place called Majestic's Liquor and buy alcohol. There was also back in the day you could drink and drive too, even though I wasn't old enough to do either one of them. But I didn't care anymore. You talk to a 17, 18-year-old boy that says, you're going to die, and there's still no chance, a good chance or a high percentage that you'll live. So I had the surgeries. They said you need to do chemotherapy and radiation. I basically told them to stick it. I said, because everybody was upset with me, but my mentality is that you can take all the best doctors in the world, stick them in one room for no matter what your situation is. And if it's your time to go, it's your time to go. And there's nothing anybody can do about it. So
And that's the thought that you had at that time at a young age like that?
What's that?
Is that the attitude? I mean, is that the actual thought that you had at that time being 17 years old?
Yes. I was just like, I've had family members that had cancer, and I watched them go through chemotherapy and radiation and watched what it did to them, and I wasn't going to do that. At the same time, 17, 18-year-old boys think they're 10 foot tall and bulletproof. That's absolutely not the case. It was a lot of struggle, a lot of crying, a lot of self-sorrow, blaming everybody but myself, which there was nobody to blame to begin with. I didn't do anything to cause it or get it or anything like that. So it just, I don't know, that attitude I had back then was self-destructive altogether, if you had to sum it up.
Okay. So what was the kicker? I think did you have some kind of kicker? Did you have some type of event? Did you have some kind of, something that kicked you in the ass to get like a newfound attitude towards it all, where you wanted to beat it and stop the drinking and realize that this is what I got to do in order to get into the Marine Corps?
Yes. It was several years later. I kept screwing up, the DUIs, the being arrested, going to jail, and all this kind of stuff. And I was like rock bottom to where my granddad was in the military. My uncles were all in the military. I had one from the Frozen Chosen, a couple of them, a few of them from the Vietnam War and stuff like that. And basically, I grew up on an old teaching method called "take care of your own," so to speak. And I was basically put out the door. After hitting rock bottom, I found where my mom was living. I knocked on the door and said, "Mom, I'm done. Can you help?" So apparently, from my understanding, my mom called my Uncle Wayne, which was still stationed in K-Bay, Hawaii on recruiting duty for a second time, and my other Uncle Wayne, his brother. And somehow I get a phone call from the RS station near my home, and I got called in. Did everything, went through the whole thing, and that's basically the start of getting into the Marine Corps. And it was just I had to hit rock bottom. I was a hard-headed kid. Not no excuses. It's just my mistakes, and I had to learn from it, and I had to grow up.
Well, I think it's neat in a sense looking back that a lot of young people, man, they don't have that mental prowess. They don't have that mental wherewithal to realize like, hey, man, this is it. I need a change. And the fact that you were able to pick up on it, identify it, and do something about it, man, that's commendable. Because you and I both know there's tons of stories out there of people of young men, man, that just say fuck it, and they have this, they take a differently complete approach towards their problems and continue that destructive behavior. So the simple fact that you had it identified, you went, you knocked on your mom's door, and thank God you got that phone call from the recruiting station, man, to to get you set up, and which is something I want to talk about, man, because you did have the cancer, you did have some troubles with the law, you had those DUIs. What was that waiver process like, man? When the recruiter called you, did he know what type of recruit you were going to be? Did he know what type of, how much work he was going to have to do to, get your goal of becoming a U.S. Marine to into a reality?
I'm not really sure what the recruiter knew or didn't know based on the phone calls. However, that moment of truth, I was always honest. I always have been, no matter whether it got me in trouble or not. But I always told the truth. No matter how bad it was for me, I learned that even if I did screw up, no matter how bad I screwed up, I was still always honest. One of those DUIs, the Texas state trooper put me in the front seat with no cuffs, drove me to jail. So I told him everything, my past, my history, the probation periods and the community service and all that was already passed. And then I told him my story about how I had cancer, not an excuse or anything like that. It's just, this is what I want to do. I'm coming to you. You don't have to recruit me. I'll sign the dotted line right now. Let's fly. Let's do this.
When we're back, we had to take a unscheduled break thanks to our local ISP decided to knock out the internet for a couple of hours. So, Mike, sorry about the delay, sir. Appreciate your patience. We left off, you were in the recruiter's office, you were raring to go, you made a statement that he didn't need to recruit you, you were there to sign the dotted line. So let's pick it up from there, sir.
That's absolutely correct. It's the only thing I ever wanted to do in life. And when I had the opportunity, I told him, I said, look, I'm not a high school kid that you got to come and recruit and talk into. This is something that I want to do. So let me sign the paperwork. So I did. It was in the delayed entry program for a few months, and then July they said, all right, you're going to MEPS in Dallas. And I said, okay. And then that fell through. And then one night they called me and they said, you need to go to MEPS now. I said, well, you going to come pick me up? They said, yeah. I said, okay, let's go. I ain't scared. So that's kind of how that went. And then I did the ASFAB, took my test, did all my physicals and stuff, passed. They let me go. And the waiver only had to waive, the cancer part.
Okay.
I actually found out in boot camp that I could have went in at 30 something because there was a guy in the sister platoon that was a history teacher that joined when he was 34.
Wow. That's an old man in Marine Corps years.
Yes, sir.
So what was that like for you, man? I mean, you had waited what's the year now? 1998, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So
It
what
was,
was that like? I mean, you go there, you had these trials, you beat them, you have achieved one part of your desire, your goal was to join the Marine Corps, you did, and then now where'd you go? Did you go to Paris Island then, or did you go out to San Diego?
I went out to San Diego.
Okay. So you find yourself an older man, right? With a bunch of 18, 19-year-old kids in boot camp. What was that like for you?
It was an experience, especially when I was the same age or older than my drill instructors. Just like everybody else, still remember all their names. But it was a relief because I had no opportunities. I didn't have anybody, aunt, uncle, or anybody to call upon to give me a job at Motorola or Google or wherever to where I can make a living and grow up, you know, at the same time. So it was like, and then your dream of joining the Marine Corps versus any other branch, it's no offense, it's just what I wanted to do. I wanted to test myself, you know, can I grow up really is what it was all about. And I knew the Marine Corps would push me to those limits and beyond. So yeah, it was a big relief in being able to have a chance to prove to myself, much less anybody else, that I can grow up and stop making the stupid mistakes that I did from where I was
Right.
at.
Yeah. Now, with that being said, did you find yourself pushing yourself harder than you think you needed to, or did you like? I'm not going to make the assumption that like you did what you did, because there's people who just skated by, right? They were able, no one can stay underneath the radar. No one can be the gray man in boot camp. The drill instructors always find you, and you always have your time, and everyone gets equal treatment. But did you find yourself having to push yourself a little bit more than some of those younger guys in your platoon, or was it more of an easier, or do you think you had a tougher time than some of those younger guys?
It's actually both for me when I went
Okay.
in because of my age. Mentally, I was stronger. Um, and knew what I was getting into. I had three uncles that had already served, one in the Korean, like I mentioned, and two from the Vietnam era. So I kind of knew what the discipline or the expectations were going to be, and I was ready for that. At the
Okay.
same time, I wasn't 18 in high school anymore and still run 3 miles in 18 minutes.
Mhm.
So that was a struggle. I did get better and ended up competing against half the 18-year-olds and did a mile and a half and 9 flat. So
Shit.
that was pretty good in
Oh
boot
yeah.
camp. I was pretty proud of that. So yeah, it was a little bit of both. A lot of struggles physically, but I overcame them because that's what I wanted to do, and I was going to make it come hell or high water.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, there was no doubt in your mind that you were in the right place doing what you wanted to do. That's fantastic.
That's correct.
All right. So, I mean, we all know, I mean, most of us, those of us who had the pleasure and the opportunity to go through Marine Corps boot camp, we know what it's all about. And when you finally earned that Eagle Globe and Anchor and it was graduation time, I think one thing we failed to talk about before was the MOS that you had chosen or the Marine Corps chose for you. So, upon graduation from boot camp, what MOS school did you find yourself going into after
Well,
MCT?
I was promised the 1300 field, but considering most of my life before the Marine Corps, I was doing construction, building custom homes, cabinetry, that type of stuff. So I wanted to do something along that nature. So I chose combat engineer, but I
Okay.
didn't know at the time that I was only guaranteed the 1300 field. So I didn't actually get to know until I went to MCT. In the MCT, they hand your file folder, your SRBs to you. And I looked at it and it said 1391 both field specialists. I said, what the hell is that? Well, all my instructors were, three of them were recon. One was a 0311 ground pounder. They laughed at me, said, you're going to be an educated gas pumper, Bo.
Oh,
So I was pissed. I threw the folder. I swear to God I did. And they laughed even harder. I was totally pissed off coming home for the leave. And then they sent me to Fort Lee, Virginia. Obviously, that's where boat fuel is, cook school is, jump school is, mortuary affairs. I was
mm,
mad the whole time, but I got stuck in doing duty like the staff NCOs did because of my age, and I got meritoriously promoted in boot camp and MCT. I
okay.
was actually the last class to get promoted in that. So I didn't get a whole lot of study. I didn't do so well. I'm dyslexic, so I didn't do so good in studying and doing a test. I wasn't at the top, I promise you that. But in hindsight, 2020, it gave me a career, so I'm very thankful for that.
Excellent. Yeah. What a great mindset to have. You know, everyone's got their own expectations when they're joining the Marine Corps, right? And your expectation was not to be an educated gas pumper, right? But you
No,
took it, you were angry. I get it. And then, but how was that for you, man? I mean, coming from my first MOS, I spent a lot of time deployed. Everything we rode on required fuel. Whether it be helicopters, whether it be the Amtraks, whether it be the 5 tons, the Hummers, there was always someone there to give us gas, man. And it's just one of those things that the Marine Corps cannot function without bulk fuel. Period. And like I said before, like what uh another guest had mentioned on the podcast, and then we did some research, and you know what, he's right. For every gun that goes down range, you know, there's 12 other people that make that gun get there. So without bulk fuel, no one's going anywhere, you know. And then when I moved into the aviation field, you know, I mean, you ain't going anywhere without fuel. So it's one of those MOSs that I think probably doesn't get the credit that it deserves because it's not cool, it's not sexy. People aren't writing books, you know, about bulk fuel. They're not writing stories about it, you know, but it's one of those things, man. Ain't nobody going anywhere unless bulk fuel's around. So, what was that like for you after you got into it?
It actually ended up being fun. My first duty station was Camp Pendleton.
Okay.
And I was fortunate enough that I still talk to a lot of those folks at 7th Engineer Support Battalion. I had a couple of good mentors. One I didn't know so well. One guy's named Dave Tibbles and the other one's named Dave Watts. I wanted to give a shout out to them because they're special to me, and I never actually told them face to face that they were mentors of mine.
Okay.
So I greatly appreciate those. It ended up, and I told myself, no matter what, I'd volunteer for everything. I did. I would take any kind of education. I didn't even know how to turn a computer on when I went in. They sent me to a Microsoft school there on base. Did that. Although I was never deployed, I went straight into headquarters company as far as the platoon, and we wasn't going anywhere, or at least I wasn't. I tried. I tried to get back into the line platoons, get deployed, go to the Muse. Wasn't happening. So it ended up being fun. There was a lot of people that were influential into my life based on Camp Pendleton alone, which gave me the foundation to handle some situations in the Marine Corps around the world. So I'm very fortunate and grateful for those. I ended up getting a couple of journeyman's licenses. I ended up going to college.
Great.
Got my associate's degree, and then I did my dual bachelor's degree. And then I ended up with my MBA along the way. But most of that is after the Marine Corps, and I went as a contractor working for a couple of staff sergeants of mine that I was stationed with here at the air station in South Carolina.
Okay. Was your time so, now you mentioned there was no deployments. Was that a difficult pill for you to swallow during the time that you joined and then everything that happened after 9/11? I mean, were you just dying? I mean, was it someone holding you back or was it just the nature of the MOS?
Mainly the nature of the MOS. When I transferred PCS out of Pendleton, I went to Okinawa and I was on Camp Fatima. Well, that's a non-deployable unit for me. I was actually the barracks manager at the time when 9/11 went down on Fatima. It was hard because for me, I wanted to travel and see the world. The deployments was disappointing, but I got it. It's not just me, it's an overall picture of what the Marine Corps does itself. So I wasn't going to be selfish. Yeah, I was disappointed, but I'm not going to make a big stink about it because I don't know what the grand scheme is. I don't know what everybody else needs or this, that, and the other. So I took the punches and rolled with them, did the best I could. I tried to lead from the front. Wasn't always perfect. None of us are. But I did the best with what I could and what I was told versus what I saw. You know what I mean? So it was pretty tough watching a barracks, and we were right in the middle of a typhoon too. So the phones are down. You can't go outside. You can't go. I had a friend of mine that was in the Navy that was actually stationed with the Marines there at Camp Fatima. His name is Greg. He's a good guy. And he said he was going to go on the Roosevelt. I said, man, you're going to learn so much. You're going to have a stack full of ribbons. He went home and was home during that leave when 9/11 happened. His parents worked in the trade centers. They happened to take the 2 weeks off because their son was coming home. I couldn't get a hold of him. I talked to his parents, finally got a hold of him. And then about 2 months later, I finally got a phone call from him. He was on the Roosevelt and gave me a call and said, Mike, I'm good. And I appreciated that. So that was kind of some of the little bit of struggles that we all went through, but it's just part of the life that we deal with.
So day-to-day life for you over there in Japan when everything else was going on, what was your daily routine like there for you?
It was kind of rough. When I left Pendleton, they didn't enter my PT scores and my rifle range scores, so I was going to get promoted. I was excited about that. Then kind of find out I wasn't. That was could run to 3 miles in like 15, 16 minutes.
Mm.
So it was rough doing PT with him. I had fun, but then I didn't have fun because my mom was she was terminally ill with
Okay.
liver cancer. So I had to work a full-time job at the gyms on base as well as my functions as a Marine there on Camp Fatima.
Right. So how was that? How did the Marine Corps leadership take care of you during that time then with your mother? Because you're doing, you're working two jobs over there with the Marine Corps, plus you got the added stress of your mother. How did leadership take care of you? Were they good to you, or did it
Uh,
feel like you were
my
dealing
immediate
with?
chain of command was pretty good until we had some personnel changes, I guess you could say. I did go home because one of my uncles that I told you about, Uncle Harold, he had passed away. He was one of my uncles that had an influence in my life about growing up and the military way of life and stuff like that. So they sent me home for that. um, I worked a second job because when I transferred out of Pendleton and I got to Okinawa, they wasn't paying me my BH and comrades.
Mm.
So I lost a buttload of money, and I went it all the way up through the chain of command to the command adjutant, the sergeant major, the CO, everybody. They said, no, your pay's good. This is what you're supposed to get paid. So almost 2 years later, I had the PCS out early. They didn't dock me for the extension pay, which I was grateful for because my mom was taking a turn for the worse.
Mm.
And 2 weeks into being stationed at MCAS Beaufort, I had a Lance Corporal call me up and said, hey, can you come up here? And I was like, fuck, now what? With my pay? And he said, no, Corporal, that count because we didn't pay you your BAH and comrades while you were overseas. So I was right the whole time. It was kind of upsetting that you didn't believe me and that you didn't do the extra legwork, or whatever the case may have been there. I could have had a lot more fun. It was very humbling because there was at my age at the time in Okinawa, I was barely making afloat. I could barely afford my haircut. Thank God I was living in a barracks. There was one little Lance Corporal that was about to turn 19. He just happened to know my situation was in my shop, and he would load me money on paydays just to float my mom. I still remember this, and if I ever strike the lottery, I'll hire every private investigator I can find to track him down and make sure he never works again in his life.
Mm.
I never forget my debts or the people that stuck their hand out to help me when, so I had a lot of good times. I had a lot of sorrow times. But you roll with the punches, and you can't let it get you down for too long. You got to put them boots back on, stand up, and put one foot in front of the other.
Amen. So what year was this now that you left Okinawa, and then you find yourself in Beaufort taking a phone call like that?
Well, I got in Okinawa May 2000, left December 2001, got to the air station beginning of January 2002, and that was really great. I got to leave early that day. I wanted to say, get out of here. So I went home. She was also my sponsor, along with another sergeant, for when me and my mom landed, which was kind of great because January, my mom passed away in August. But I got to buy her first brand new bed of her choice. Oh, a big nice one at the time. Um, we got to go to the grocery store, and I told her right before you go in, I don't care if you buy 12 shopping carts full of groceries. You buy whatever you want, as much as you want. So we come out of there with 6 buggies full of food, non-perishables, meat, all kinds of stuff. My mom was just crying up a storm. So that was pretty exciting for me and something that it may not be much to a lot of people, but for me, growing up poor and not having much, it worked out great to where I could give something back to my mom.
How was her spirit seeing you, man? I mean, was she, of course she's grateful. I mean, she knew what you did and, the Marine Corps and everything else, and now you're with her during this difficult time with her cancer, man. Did you feel like you had any kind of a different relationship with your mom now that you were in the Marines, and as a Marine you were taking care of her?
Well, I love you, Mom, but she was kind of hard-headed. Like I said, her dad was in the military. All of her brothers were in the military. Her uncles were in the military. So up until I took her to the hospital, the Naval Hospital here in Beaufort, South Carolina, which is not what it was, but I knew she had liver cancer, but I just didn't know how bad it was. She never told me. She acted like everything was normal all the time.
Mm.
For any kind of holidays that were coming up, she wanted to cook a big feast for all the Marines in my unit. She was a God loving person. She wanted to do for others. She was God loving, read the Bible. all that kind of good stuff. And it kind of hit me harder than what it probably should have when everything went down. But that was some strong lady right there that had a power that you just don't know how to put in words, and she basically shielded me from what was coming.
Looking back, are you grateful for the approach that she took with you throughout all that or no?
I never really thought about that question, to be honest with you. To some degree, yes, because I think it would have affected me in my chain of command as far as how I acted, what I did, what my job responsibilities were to do. I know when I went on I&I there at Fort Gordon Eisenhower Hospital, which is where they ultimately sent her, and I was in at Fisher House. I left one night. She wanted some beauty products and some regular clothes that she would wear at nighttime. And I told her, I said, Mama, I'm not going to be able to make it back. I need to sleep before I come back. And this is where, when I came back, this is where I realized just how bad it really was and how fast it was going to happen. I come back. She was coherent. Talked to me, called me by my name, the whole 9 yards, told me she loved me. I loved her. She didn't even know who I was when I walked in the room.
Mm.
Matter of fact, they moved her and didn't tell me. So I raised hell there, and now everybody outranks me, but that kind of goes out the window. So I'm grateful for them too, as well, for that. And about 12 different doctors pulled me off into a room that wasn't being occupied and set me down. And that's when they told me, your mom's got days, if not hours. And at that time, I didn't technically know it was liver cancer. I knew she had a liver problem, but I didn't know just how fast it was going. And I lost it. My Uncle Wayne, Uncle David, and my Aunt Robin, her siblings, come up. Now, meanwhile, I'm having to do CAMI inspections, still do my I&I duties. Yet at the same time, they let me be with my mom as much as possible and stuff like that. So they said, you're doing great. You're holding up pretty well. I said, not really. It's all a show. And knowing that I've still got to do this or I'll disappoint my mom, that would probably be the worst thing in my life, is to disappoint somebody from that point on. I'd
Mm.
already did that enough. When I joined the Marine Corps, I was about determined I was going to try not to do that.
How do you were was was your unit that short, or do you think that it might have been a little bit more helpful for you in a sense of them exercising some leadership over you to keep you busy with your daily routine with the Marine Corps, and then giving you time to go be with her?
Well, it wasn't like a 4 to 8 hour type thing that I had to be with the unit. I pretty much stayed in the hospital at Fort Gordon Eisenhower Hospital there. But I think at the same time, my staff sergeant that by name ranked me to go to Iraq would call me once or twice a day, check up on me. They actually ended up coming, meet my mom and everything like that. I think it was
Great.
a little bit of both, to where, I don't have all the time to reflect on what's happening, what's going to happen. Everybody else around me kind of probably knew, but they also probably knew that I'd probably lose it, which I did. But because I didn't have a father or any other siblings to fall back on, it was just me and the world. And my uncles lived in different areas or around the world, depending on if they were still in and active and all this other kind of stuff. But at the same time, they still played a huge influence in my life. So I'm grateful for both ways, no matter what their way of thinking was. That way I just don't have time to sit there and sulk or praying for this, praying for that, and kind of keep me busy so I don't go off on the deep end.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important. Now, now, I mean, and it's something that is, they tell you, days, weeks, whatever. How much more time did you end up being able to spend with your mother?
Well, I didn't really know it because she hid this from me too. When I was first at the air station, we were in the hotel, and then we got an apartment, some brand new ones that just opened up. We were like the third couple to move in. However, if she had to sit down or lay down, she had to bend over in an L shape and rest her upper body on like the bed or the couch or whatever. If she did it when I wasn't there, I was either at the air station or whatever, asleep. I didn't know that, and I caught her. I go, what's wrong, Mom? She goes, I got a lot of fluid on my stomach and my chest and my belly that, I can't lay down in any kind of way. And I come in one day, one afternoon from being off work, and she was hurting pretty bad. I could see it in her face. I said, Mom, let me take you to the Naval Hospital. At that time, it was full blown. There ain't hardly nothing there now. She let me do it. Took her to the emergency room. They still didn't tell me that it was full blown liver cancer. I just knew something was wrong with the liver. They ended up care flattening her to Fort Gordon Eisenhower Hospital. So that's kind of how it went down and went in.
I think I missed a little bit of you, man. So you took her to that other hospital, right? They air flighted her, and then what happened? I'm sorry.
They got her there. I had to drive. Obviously, I can't go in the helicopter, but I got there, and then they already had her in a room. And I guess they ran some tests while I wasn't there to reconfirm what tests had already been done in Texas and at the Naval Base Hospital. That's basically the real I don't know. I never really saw the imagery or anything like that. My first real glance into it was when all the doctors pulled me in. And, one of them happened to be a full bird colonel, and I kind of lost it. But again, I thank to the medical staff for, taking care of us when we're not in the right frame of mind and letting things go and understanding we're on the human level instead of the military level of everything. So I'm really appreciative of that.
Well, that's something that I think, that just comes with with their job too, right? I mean, yeah, obviously they're senior, they're senior officer people, man, right? But I mean, they're still doctors that are dealing with human struggles and human loss and human grief and human ailments. So, I mean, I think in some sense it's probably got to be a little bit more difficult for them in those times than a regular civilian type of doctor, man, for them to have to balance that. So for them to be able to act with what I'm perceiving as a little bit of, maybe extra grace with you, man. I think that's fantastic, man, that they were able to, do that.
I do too. I think it was really nice of them to do that.
Yeah. So how much time did you have to deal with this, man? I mean, so was it a matter of days and weeks, or was it months, or how much? I mean, because you got a lot going on now. You got your mom, you got the Marine Corps, you got to go back and forth between the two, and then you got your home and everything else. So
well, I had to call her brothers and sisters and let them know that you got maybe 3 days, if not less. She's gone no matter what. So they were able to drive up and make that trip. They basically sent her home in an ambulance because she didn't want to die in the hospital, and I made sure that she wasn't. We got all the way back to the apartment complex. I peeled in. My aunts and uncles were following me, and the ambulance driver, one of the guys in the back, said, "Get in." And I did, and I was able to hold my mom and tell her it's okay. She passed away in my arms. Rough. Anybody that's lost a parent or both or something of that similar fashion, it's pretty rough. It's detrimental. And then within a few days, my leave was already taken care of. I rode with my aunts and uncles back to Texas, about 23-hour drive. And make a long story short, we did the funeral. That's when I found out that I can't remember his name. It's a distant uncle, but he was the one in the Frozen Chosen. And one of the things was that I found out that David and Wayne knew was that everybody's supposed to come in their dress uniforms. Well, me and Wayne are doing our collars on our dress blues. And he said, Mike, don't freak out when you turn around. I said, why? So we finished the college to turn around, and my uncle's in solid wools.
Oh.
Yeah. And they don't even know anything. All I knew is that he's in the Marine Corps, and that's all anybody ever knew. And wasn't going to find out anything else. So we did the funeral. We got her buried. Not to make light of it. I just don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. And then I got to stay, and my gunny at the time, NCOIC, gave me an extra week. I was waiting on the insurance policies to kick in. I didn't want to have to go back, deal with all that, and then try and do everything in a long distance way. I said, not a problem. I get all that done, get back to MCAS Beaufort. I worked 3 days and ended up going to the advanced lab school, back to Fort Lee. So that's how fast everything went and turned around. I didn't have a lot of time to think because lab school wasn't all that easy. I did good. It was kind of great for me because one of the guys named Sergeant Macia, we got promoted to sergeant there at the schoolhouse together. We also went through basic boat fuel school together. So that was pretty cool and got to see each other. He was based out of K-Bay at the time.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool, and going to the MOS together and getting to study and doing all that stuff.
So you go to this advanced school, you pass it, you graduate, and then now what year are we in right now then?
2002 still,
All right,
because that's when
2002.
Mom passed away in August.
Okay.
Did the boat fuels, or I mean, the advanced lab school, and then come back to the air station.
So when we talk about bulk fuel at an air station, let's talk about your job a little bit. Were you one of those guys driving a truck out to the aircraft, fueling them up, or you running hydrants around, or were you actually moving fuel from the rail cars into the taking system on board? I mean, I'm ignorant, man, so let's talk about that. I'm interested.
No, you're good. MCAS Beaufort is actually a unique place versus anywhere else for the fuel community around the world in the Marine Corps. It's the one place we still take fuel by barge, including to this day.
Okay, cool.
We actually still have the rail cars that come through our section, but they're not utilized anymore. We still take tankers. Like when the war kicked off, we were taking 3 or 4 barges a week, depending on how timing was, because it come out of Jacksonville, Florida. The tub was Miss Sarah, took 450,000 gallons of that. Had to put the booms out and all that kind of stuff. I ran trucks when I first got there. I was already a senior. So they ended up putting me in the fuel pit type of thing. So it's it's different than your ground units, like when I was at 7th ESP, because you'll get fapped over to the air wing down there to kind of learn a little bit extra about your MOS. That was a lot of fun, getting to learn the barges. Ended up being the platoon sergeant. I rewrote the PQS manual, personal qualification standards, for the boat fuel community while I was there. End up rewriting the fire warden folder and got do some other things and learn from different, because you can always learn from everybody around you, no matter what rank or positions they are. And a lot of people didn't do that, or didn't take that knowledge or get it. As we all know, you got some bad apples, but mostly good apples. But it doesn't matter what field or civilian world or the military, it's all there. You just got to learn to see through the stuff that you don't want in your life and make the things happen that you do want in your life. I don't want to be like this, or I don't want to do that. When I lead, I want to do this. None of us are perfect, and all we keep doing, even still to this day, until the day we die, is to keep proving and keep trying and keep an open mind instead of a closed mind. No, I know how to do this type of stuff. That's not the case with me.
What was now you mentioned one thing. You mentioned the hot pits. The hot pits to me, when I was in aviation, I was with the Hercs. It was an area on the airfield that we would taxi to, and the guys would come out. They'd hook up the airplane and power and all that, and just so you were able to keep on rolling. Hot pits to me, is it the same thing that we're discussing here, or no?
It is the exact same thing. The only difference is, and I ran through this problem at MCAS Beaufort, so I'm out there on the hot pits as a corporal. So hot pits and fuel, there's a nav air for everything on the flight line, as you know.
Yes, sir.
Their flight line manual nav air says something different on how they deal with fuel. For instance, if they have a problem or their engines are blowing fire or whatever, we tell them to shut it down. Theirs says drive out and get away from the fuel spill that they're creating. So you're also not allowed to have your woolly pulleys out there, because it's wool. It creates static electricity. So I shut some pretty high-ranking people down and end up having to go see my warrant officer. And they wasn't too kindly that they were getting refused fuel, and how dare a corporal tell me I can't do this and do that. So I was standing tall, and they go, where are you getting this information? And I started rattling off the manuals, 1067-1, 1067-2, the Marine Corps manual, and they were like, so they looked it up. And it's like, I got in the Army at one of the Navy squadrons that used to be there back when I first got there. They're not there now. They're down in Florida. And he kept calling me up and kept cussing at me. So I'd hang up the phone on him. We went through this like 8 times, and all the troops are like, what the fuck are you doing? This is a chief, right? And I'm like, you going to keep cussing, blah, 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 click, click, click. So he finally waits a little bit and calls me up. All right, Sergeant Russell, I'm going to shut up. You please explain to me why you're doing the dumb shit that you're doing. I said, not a problem. I said, tell me the nav air that you're reading that says otherwise of what I'm telling you. He told me. I said, well, first of all, you got the wrong nav air. We have a different nav air that belongs to the airfield as well. There's 27 of them, not 26. At the time. I don't know what it is now. And because I wouldn't defuel this bird. We don't have defuel tanks with the red dye in it that we can track things or do other things with it.
Right.
So we had no way. We could defuel it only if we put it right back into another bird. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to get rid of it all, and we wasn't doing it. And that's when he wrote down the nav air and pulled it. At the same time, you're asking for knowledge, but he won't let me give it to you. So that was kind of fun and cool.
How did all that turn out for you in Beaufort, man? Was it a job? Was it a career enhancer for you? Did you enjoy being in Beaufort more than you enjoyed being in Okinawa?
It. One particular incident in particular, we had FAPs from 273 that are also there. That are deployable fuel unit and a unit as a whole, a battalion. I got FAPed over this one Marine. As you know, if I leave and I'm coming to you, you're going to get a phone call about what type of Marine I am. Happens all the time.
Yes,
Not
sir.
a problem. So I was told he was a shitbird. I said, okay. Again, with the open mind, I want to see how you do, and I sit you down. Not really an interview, but I want to talk to you on a even level basis, not ranks. I want to see where you come from, what your issues are, what's happening. He was having a lot of problems, and hope I don't break down on this one, but he had a 4-year-old son. He was late all the time to formations. He was on the phone all hours of the night, crying with his wife, his baby. The 4-year-old boy needed a heart transplant, and nobody at his unit knew about it. All they did was chew him out, cuss him out, drop him, work him out. You know what I mean? I took the time, and I called a friend of mine up. Her name's Michelle. At the time, she was the vice president of the National Honor Society at Texas A&M, and we were pretty good friends. And I called her. I didn't know anything was going to happen. I just, hey, can we get this Marine some help and his child? Well, they were from New York. So a few years passed. Couple years passed, and I'm still at the air station. I'm sitting over there at the picnic bench where the smoking section was. And as you know, you challenge anybody coming in your AO. So I told one of the Marines, I go check that. So the guy gets out, everybody's in civilian clothes. The lady gets out, pulls the seat back, and gets the child out of the child seat. So they get about halfway across that parking lot, all the way over to where we're at. They get about 75 yards, and the boy starts taking off running. I'm standing there in a flight suit. Well, what the hell? And my Marine turns around and goes, it's okay. And the boy keeps running and runs straight towards me and jumps into my arms. I pick him up. Yeah, I'm not supposed to, but I didn't care. He's a little child. And I still don't know who they are. I still don't have a clue. And I'm holding him in my arms as a 5, almost 6-year-old boy. And when he comes up and he goes, you don't remember me, do you? I said, honestly, I'm sorry, I don't. It happened to be that Marine. His boy got a heart transplant. All the bills were paid. Hospital stays were paid. Rehabilitation was paid. Everything was covered. And they even helped him get the car fixed and get a better car. And they all started crying. I started crying, of course, because I'd never seen his wife before, much less met her. She's crying, hugging my neck. I still got a boy in my arms. And they're like, thank you for saving our son. And I about lost it right there. I almost fell on the ground because I'm like, what are you talking about? They mentioned Michelle. Between the National Honor Society around the country, got together, found a story. They put them on the news. They got the donations and everything taken care of. So, yeah, I would have to say that was probably my best time in any duty station that I had, was that I got to give back something that's greater than I am. And any one person, is that you took care of somebody else and not asking anything in return. I never wanted anything in return. Hell, I wasn't even sure anything could happen, but all I could do was try. So, yeah, Beaufort was my best location.
Awesome. So how much more time did you spend down there at Beaufort, man, running bulk fuel and doing everything you were dealing with before you made the decision to get out of the Marine Corps? And how did that decision look like?
Well, I didn't have a choice to stay in.
Okay.
It's kind of funny, and I know I'm going to get razzed over this, but my dream was to always be the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. I didn't know you had to be an 0311 to get there first, but that was my goal. I set it there, and that's where I was going, and I didn't want out. However, in March of 2005, due to work-related injury, I've only got 2/3 of my spine. My entire lower lumbar is nothing but plates, rods, and screws, and it's considered equal to missing an entire leg or an arm. So that's also at the same hospital that my mom was at. But I did that, and then I didn't have a choice after that, because getting into all the positions, running or carrying 120-pound packs, wasn't going to happen ever again. Still can't. But so I ended up getting out. I didn't want to. I begged, barred, and plead. I even pulled some punk cards that we had some people that were on light duty that were already over there in Iraq. And I said, well, if they can go, why can't I? I mean, you got them at
Yeah, oh
admin
shit.
positions, and I'm like, I want to go. And like, no, we can't because you're on a med board. And I said, well, so are they. But, it didn't get them stopped. So I tried that. Still didn't work, but it is what it is. And then right before I got out, one of my staff sergeants that was in boat fuel school was one of my instructors, came down to MCAS Beaufort as his last duty station. Well, he knew my story. He also contacted me and said, hey, I know you're getting out at such time. And I was like, I was always amazed at how he always knew my info. But he by name wrecked me and gave me a job coming right out of the Marine Corps. Got out. Last day was October 22nd before Christmas 2006. I was sitting in Anabar Province,
2006.
better known as TQ. Or
Okay.
Al-Taqadam, depending on.
Okay. I'm sorry, you were where? That last part of the duty station?
Well, we call it TQ, but it's Al-Taqadam. It's right there with Habaniya and Fallujah and Ramadi, around
Okay.
Saddam's personal lakes.
Okay. Oh, so you were able to make a deployment then?
Well, as a contractor, yes.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm tracking now. Okay. All right.
But the funny part is that MWS 273 that was there at the Beaufort,
right,
they got there a week before I did.
Ah, they beat you there.
Yep.
All right. So how was that time there, man, contracting, right? Because I mean, like, well, so hold on, because we got a little bit of a gap. I think we need to pick up on it. We need to fill, right? So you're active duty. You made the decision to get out of the Marine Corps, and you picked up this contracting gig, right? And then you made it over there. What was that? So you get out, medical board, whatever. You pick up, and I don't mean whatever to discount it because I just don't know. So you do this transition out of the Marine Corps, you get into this contracting role, right? This contracting gig. Was contracting something you knew you were going to do upon your separation, or was it something that you found afterwards, or was the availability of the contracting gig kind of helping you out?
Never knew anything about the contracting until towards the very end, when my staff sergeant had contacted me, because that's exactly where he went. I didn't know anything about it. But I knew I didn't have any plans for getting out of the Marine Corps. So I had my truck payment, house payments, I had a wife, stepdaughter, a whole 9 yards. I'm like, how am I going to put food on the table? Because I come from the era where, you got to go to work.
Yeah.
So I'm like, working at Bepp's clothing store as a warehouse manager ain't going to cut it. I can go to work at McDonald's and get more, but, so I was thankful for that. A lot of people were like scared when we were down in Houston for the prep and everything. For me, it was like I had no clue whatsoever what I was getting myself into by any means. Like, okay, it's a job. Let's go. What the hell? It's just Iraq. It's just another country. So when I got on the plane, everybody's worried and scared and stuff like this. When we landed in Camp Anaconda, before we landed at Al-Assad and then eventually TQ, there's people that wouldn't get off the plane. We were getting hit at the same time. And they were like, oh, hell no. And they come either back up the stairs or didn't get out of their seats at all. So I'm like, my dumb self, and I know people are going like, you stupid, but I got off the plane. And they said, run to that bunker right there. So that's where I went. I never looked back. And I was like, I still, at that time, it took me several months, maybe close to a year, to realize what I just did and how serious it could be. So, but I was thankful because I had a job. I've never really been without a job. Been working since I was 10 for friends of my mom's or whatever. I didn't know anything better except this is what I got to do to keep food on the table, and I'm going to do it one way or the other. And then the other 50% of that is that I didn't think I got to contribute as much as I thought I could for my military service and for my country. And I wanted to support those military folks, no matter what branch they were, in a different capacity. So basically for me, it was like, how can I continue to serve? I still have more to give. What can I do? And that was my avenue, and I did it for 12 straight years.
That is an absolute ongoing theme of every veteran that I've had on this podcast, man. Everyone who's, and I find it so fucking delightful and so special, man. We all have more to give, and it's something that I just talk about with every veteran because there's 17 million vets in the country right now, right? And
Yes, sir.
I would love to have all of them on the podcast, man. I would. It can't happen. So you know, and everyone else that's been on this podcast so far, it is veterans that are helping their community, or it's veterans that are helping other veterans, right? Because we all have more to give. And I
Yes.
just seriously love the fact that came out of you, man. It is just absolutely phenomenal for me to hear that, because it just keeps in tune with with all the other vets that we've had on the podcast, man. They're all doing something because they realize they have more to give. And I got some vets on the podcast so far that have some amazing, amazing challenges, and they have escaped death, and they all say the same thing. I've got more to give. And just the
Yes,
fact
sir.
that that is something that you and I did not cover on the other night that we're having the phone conversation got up here. We didn't talk about that. We talked about other things, but just the sheer fact that that came out of you, man, I am absolutely thrilled. And it's an ongoing testament. It's something that I
Yes,
harp
sir.
on. And I don't care what veterans have going on in their life. There's other veterans out there, and we all have more to give, and we can get out there, we can help each other. So thank you for reigniting that for me. And I'm just thrilled to hear that come out of you, man.
Absolutely.
That just fucking made my day, made this podcast for me, man.
It takes all of us, and I still do it to this day, but we'll get into that a little later. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, this is so much, and I want to touch on something that you just said, is that there's a lot of us out there that have everybody's situation is different. What we did in the military is different. How our lives in the civilian world is different. But the fact that remains is that I know me and I know thousands and thousands of others. We're still here for you. All you got to do is pick up the phone.
That's it, brother.
I
That's
don't
it.
care if it's 2 o'clock in the morning or I just worked a 14-hour shift in 3 days. And, it doesn't matter. You call me. If I can help, I'll help. If nothing more, just somebody to vent to and somebody to actually listen to you, because we all know that there's organizations out there that's supposed to be for us and don't listen and don't care. But that's another point.
So now that we're back, let's get back on track a little bit. So you're in Iraq, you're doing the contracting gig, right? Was it just strictly fueling again, or did you find yourself with other responsibilities there?
Well, for this time around, I was hired for the lab. I
Okay.
knew with my back I couldn't build field sandbags, build the fuel berms and stuff for the bags, 50K bags and all that kind of stuff. So I was trying to find something within my community and my expertise that I could still do. I couldn't do carpentry anymore, even though I did that before I went in the Marine Corps. So lab testing was pretty easy for me. I was good at it. So that's basically what I did. We went around, take fuel samples. It's kind of nice being in part of the southern part of Iraq, and I worked the night shift, so the bags were really cool. So you can go out there and just chill out and lay on top of the bags. Although we wasn't supposed to do that, but we did. So we had a lot of fun. And then as time went on, I ended up moving up to Camp Anaconda, there was multiple labs throughout Iraq that were sea level labs. So what that means is just your basic testing for our filter separators, the hoses and equipment coming off the airlines, like at Altec TQ, Camp Anaconda, other things like that. You have to send those to the B level lab, which is where at Camp Anaconda. There's a great big scorpion. So if you ever been there, you'll know the fuel farm. So that takes more extensive training, so to speak, but the machines are not everywhere. So I ended up going there, one of my mentors that was running at the time, I ended up taking his spot because he moved up to a specialized fuel inspection team, which is ultimately what I did. I helped create a fuel inspection team because you had DCMA, Defense Contract Management Agency. They'd go around and inspect everybody no matter what your job was. But then you had the military inspection teams, KBR inspection teams, all this. So what I wanted to do, and I had brought it up to my very first warrant officer named Chet Lewis in Pendleton, and he was only there for like a couple of weeks and then he was gone. But he was actually my manager at Camp Anaconda of the fuel department.
Cool.
And so when they were going to fill the position that I was already filling, I kind of wanted to go to QA. So I went to him and asked him. He said, not a problem. But I had talked to the guy that was in charge of the QA. He's an Army vet, like 4 or 5 Purple Hearts. But I told him, I said, why is it that we can't beat the government at their own system? Why can't we take the inspection items from DCMA, the military, ours, and combine them all into one? Take out the duplicate questions and methods, and then you send 1 or 3 or 4 or 5 of us, however many you want to do, and start hitting, at the time, 27 sites throughout Iraq. Excuse me. So ultimately, that's what we did. And I was asked to lead it. The guy that hired me for that position, he said, "Who do you want?" So I called a buddy of mine up that was already out there at the time, that was at TQ with me there too as well, and then was at Camp Anaconda for the bulk side of the house. So he decided to come back to Iraq and work the contracting with me as far as traveling the bases, and worked out for the most part. But then you had some higher ups that didn't necessarily agree with getting dinged on what we were there to do. I.e., meaning that when we opened up Talil at the very bottom down there by Buk and Basra in Iraq, that fuel farm wasn't ready to be operational. You had 50K bags still sitting on the flat ground. There was no berms, no nothing. So their accounting department, because it's called fast fuel accounting system, where you can track fuel through the computer and you do your audits that way on based on how much you're issuing out, receiving, and all that kind of stuff. But I haven't been keeping track of it. That wasn't ready. Their files were still locked up in Iconics, being moved over from the Cedar location. So there's a lot of things that shouldn't have happened, but it did. For whatever powers to be that said, okay, go ahead, do this. And we dinged the hell out of them for it. And we told them they're doing great things there. They need more time before you allow DCMA or anybody else, so you're going to get cars. Well, a corrective action report started at $1 million. A level 2 is $5 million. Level 3 is $10 million. If you get that level 4, everybody that works for that particular company is got 30 days to get entirely out of the country. So that's what we were trying to prevent, save the money. But that's kind of how all that stuff went.
The overall time that you spent in Iraq contracting, when you compare it back to your active duty time, was there a lot of similarities between the job and all that, or did you find yourself with a little bit more freedom being a contractor as far as the job is concerned?
It is a little bit more friendly. But it's basically the same job. You're just not wearing the military uniform, which all of us contractors, our job was to take it back away from the military from when the war originally started. I mean, you got all these men and women that are trying to defend the base, do whatever the mission calls for them, and they're doing laundry and mail service. That's you know what I mean. That's not doing them any justice. And for me, that would be an insult to me. You know, I'm sitting here doing laundry, and that's not what I joined the military for. You know, do my own laundry, yes. You know, team up with me and you doing stuff like that. But it's a lot more relaxed. You can go to the PX, you can buy pretty much whatever you want. At the time when I first went in, you could buy the big old coat of arms swords and all that kind of stuff. Dermo, you could ship an entire brand new toolbox and snap-on tools to your house. Now, of course, they stopped that, but that was back in what we called the heydays. But yeah, it was fun. I like to travel. I wanted to see the world, which is part of the reason why I went in and, be a Marine. I earned the title. I'm no badass. I just wanted to serve my country, plain and simple as that, and be a better person and grow and maybe help people along the way, which I'm glad I'm doing right now, even still to this day. I'm currently helping a vet, but we'll get into that later.
How much time did you spend over there contract?
I got there December 2006 in Iraq. I left around 2012.
Really, quite some time then.
That was just for Iraq. Come home with the Greenville, South Carolina, went to work for another contractor, and went to Afghanistan.
Oh,
and there's an old saying that Iraq was the Hilton. That's the absolute truth. You had hooches there. When I was at one camp up north, which is called Camp Marmal, which is named after the mountains there. It's all tents. Snowed every year. Problem is, when it melted, it flooded the tents. You wake up floating around in somebody else's tent. You walked in water knee deep inside your own office, things like that. It was all right. I mean, the only time I was a little worried from time to time, but I always kept my eyes peeled. You could hear a lot of things in Iraq and Afghanistan, or Iraq. Afghanistan was a little different. I started out in Bagram and ended up in Camp Shank. Now, Camp Shank is actually bigger than Bagram itself, land-wise. Personnel is 100 times smaller, but they were all special forces.
Oh.
It was a blackout site. You'd have thought there's 40 people walking around you at all times whistling. It's the only time I ever hit the deck every single time. They would hit you probably 32 times a day. Exactly a year to date when I got there in August 2012, Camp Shank VBED, you can look the video up. it hit gate 1, and everybody felt the percussion on the other side of the base, and it's bigger than Bagram. So it was one of them old 1970 wooden station wagons that hit. So there's times where your heart would sink to places where it wasn't supposed to be. But I still had fun. I still felt like I was giving back. I was making sure the Marines, sailors, Air Force, because you had the drone pilots for the Air Force. That's avgas. So we have to test that too, along with them. We ensure that their filter separators and all that kind of stuff is still good. So I felt good about what I did. I never really was worried about the death part of it. I don't know why. It was just my mind was so fixated on giving back because it took me so long to give in. I wanted to keep giving back no matter what to everybody else.
So the contracting time ends in, well, hold on a second. So giving back, right? So you're contracting and then you still have this, what we talked about, and then we're talking about giving back now. So there's obviously a time that you're contracting, your private military contracting role in Afghanistan comes to an end and you start picking up wanting to give back. Is there something in there that we need to learn about you?
Yes, I left. I actually was in Oman when I left because I took another job with DLAE, Defense Logistic Agency and Energy. But my wife had stage 4 cancer herself.
Jesus.
So,
You got this fucking cancer thing creeping on your whole life, man, between you and school, your mother, and now your wife.
so yeah, that's the reason why I left.
Did you come with a warning label or what, man?
Well, we're both Marines, so we're both Geminis, so I'll leave it at that.
All right.
So I came home. Unfortunately, I just didn't know, and that's something else I'd like to discuss later on. But
Yeah.
she stuck it out bravely for me because of where I was, even though I wasn't in military uniform. We were still there all for one goal. The bills hadn't been paid in a while. I came home, I called all the creditors, called the mortgage company, and I told them, I said, I can't do this. I've got to take care of my wife. Well, the mortgage company I had at the time said, well, and I told them, I said, if my wife dies or I pay the mortgage. They said, we'll pay the mortgage. So there was another whole 15 minutes of words that I can't repeat, but obviously I ended up taking care of my wife. It was a pretty rough struggle. She's better now. She's good to go. Don't have to worry about anything.
Awesome.
Jobs were scarce. When you work for 6 figures a year for over a decade, nobody wants to hire you around here. And I finally had one place that took a chance on me. We worked for $12 an hour. I said, yeah, I just need to put food on the table. At the time I was still working. I probably shouldn't have been doing some of the stuff that I did, but it was working in a warehouse for a company that built trucks.
Okay.
I was a material handler, basically hauling parts from storage or the warehouse part to the locations on the line. Working long hours up to 4 hours shy of 40 hours overtime every week. And trying to maintain and float. We had the electricity cut off for several weeks at times, hardly any food in the house. And it got pretty rough. I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know who to turn to. Everybody else I knew wasn't nowhere close. I didn't know any organizations at the time. I called a few. Wasn't really any help. And leading up into this is 2017 and when I came home, it stretched out into 2018. We were about to lose the home. Matter of fact, I was able to scrounge up enough money to file bankruptcy the day before they locked us out of the house and all of us be homeless. At the time, I didn't have hardly any money. I was doing what I could. We have a walk-in pantry. We didn't have any food in the refrigerator either. And I said, I think I got like 40 something bucks in the bank account. Maybe I can drive down to Pooler, which is in Savannah, Georgia, at Sam's Club and get some great big tubs of peanut butter and jelly and bread to feed us for a few weeks. And I was staring off in space. I was still clean cut at the time. And this lady walks up to me on my left shoulder, taps me on my shoulder and goes, "Are you a Marine?" I kind of looked over at her and I said, "Yes, ma'am." She goes, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, ma'am, I'm not. There's no light at that end of the tunnel like everybody used to say there is. It's gone. It never was there, in my opinion." And she kept her hand on my shoulder and she goes, "Can I help? Will you let me help?" I said, "Why not? One more shot. I ain't got nothing to lose." And what she didn't know was that by sunfall, which is a few hours from then, I was going to commit suicide. I listened to her. She gave me her personal number. And I did what she told me to do with calling this number and this organization. and it ended up saving my life. Now, at the same time, transitioning into this, I'm still screwed up in the head with some of the things that I saw, things that happened over in Iraq and Afghanistan. At the same time, while I worked at building those trucks, there's an organization called Operation Patriot Fob. They're a half a mile further down the road. I never knew they were there at the time. So I got wind of this, and the guy calls me up, and I bought one of our therapy dogs, my wife's therapy dog, through him. We had the same MOS. He goes, brings me up there, and I've never left until some injuries towards the end of this last year. So I've been there about 5 years or so. And between those two combinations, I couldn't ask for anything more. I used to run around life going, with the disappointments and putting myself back up and walking straight again and getting knocked down, back up, knocked down, back up. And I was like, what in the fuck was I even here on this earth for? What was the purpose? What's the point? And when that lady intervened by whatever means, divine nature or whatever it may be called, and opfob kind of clicking right in the same month at the same time was a lifesaver, because going there, it's like I'm going into my mom's home and I'm sitting down, I'm already relaxed, I know the atmosphere, and that's how it feels to me. And when I show up on Saturday mornings, I end up being the greeter, but for a long time. And I used to tell everybody that this is home for me. When I leave here finally on Saturdays, however long I'm here this day, I'm automatically thinking driving away is like, when can Saturday hurry up and get here again? The camaraderie, you don't have to worry about lingo and stuff like that. And they
Hell
really
yeah.
pulled me out of that funk that, and I know you know about all this, but I can't describe it. It's like JR and Stephanie that are the founders of this, and it's about stopping veteran suicide.
Yes,
and
sir.
how impactful that is just phenomenal. Me being
hold on.
almost one of
Hold on. You know what? Hold on, man. I want to get one or two things maybe decompressed a little bit, okay? Because I I know where you were working, I know where you live, right? And I'm not going to pressure you for any, it's like we talked about, right? But you're at this point, and it's something majestic that I think we need to spend a little bit more time on, please, brother, right?
Okay.
I mean, because you've got 40 something odd dollars in your account. You went from making this money, you had all these troubles, you had all these tribulations, you had all these challenges, and you find what I'm hearing, and and I know you know what I mean by this, but it's not a derogatory thing when I say this, but you find yourself completely debilitated, right? Like that's it. You tell your wife, I'm going shopping, and you're loading up on the last couple bucks you have. You're getting whatever you can to bring home, and then you had it in your mindset that that's it. I'm going to the store, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to take it home, and then I'm going to go take my life. And then you meet this woman who changes your path, right? And then you get introduced to opfob, but there's just something in the middle in there, because you said it before, they were half mile away from you this entire time, bro. Lakeview Drive, right? How the
Right.
fuck? So just the sense of this woman being there, knowing that opfob was so close to you, and you were so close to doing something that you could never come back from. There is just something that is so divine in that, in a sense. And I just want
Absolutely.
to impress upon and try and get more out of you about that, in a sense, because you guys were half mile away from each other, man. And you were so close to ending it, and you had this woman, and you're here with us fucking now today. And it's just an amazing thing that just needs to get discussed or unboxed a little bit more. And I don't have the mental capacity to figure out the divine nature of it at all, but it's fucking awesome. And I just the sense of it, man, because, I spent a week there with those guys, and it changed me as a man. It changed me as a veteran. It changed me as my why with all this. And the guys I spent the time down there with, Brady, Matt, Justin, Jimmy, Stephanie, JR, could go on and on with all those guys, Grumpy, and all those guys down there, man. Beto, all of them, man. I love them. Jake, all those guys, man. So, but you have all this. It's so fucking close. You didn't know about it. This woman touches you. You found out about it. And you're fucking here with us today, man. It's an awesome testament. It's just so, that's why this discussion and my why about what we talked about spreading the gospel is so goddamn important, because
It
you
is.
can be so close to something and not know about it, and it can end up saving your life. So that's got me all jacked up and stoked that it's, I don't know how to end this part right now about moving on, man, but I just want to press upon people that the freaking help you may need or the answers or a tool that can help you get there might be closer than you freaking know about.
That's exactly right. It's like, say, 3, 4 hours, I was gone. But yet this lady somehow recognized something. So that's one important thing I want to tell everybody is that it's okay to ask if a veteran is okay or not. It's okay. Because if she hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be here. I promise you I wouldn't. Um, I was down in my dumps. You don't think about all your loved ones or the ones that are involved with your life, whether it be family, friends, stuff like you don't see that. All you see is this compounding, King Kong Godzilla standing on your shoulders, and there's no sight and see how to get out of it or how to help when you keep calling places that are supposed to help you and they keep denying, well, we can't do that. We can't do this. You can't do that. And no help, no money, no stop the foreclosure on my home or anything like that. And then at the time, this is the very, 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 very early stages of opfob. So it wasn't really like out there. It was, but it wasn't. But when I found them, there might be, I don't know, from my estimate, I think it was like 25 people showed up every Saturday. Now there's like a couple of hundred or more, depending on what's happening. And if they got it's not spring break and everybody's on vacation and stuff like that, you could be more. But I never left, and I've watched that place grow. It's like a family. JR, Stephanie, Craig Ostergaard, all the board members, they do awesome God's work about expanding this, helping us out, doing things. It's 268 acres of adult playground. But what I like about it best being walking into my mom's home is that I've watched people that have never been there before on Saturday for camaraderie and breakfast. They'll go sit down at one of the tables all by themselves. And you got everybody else that'll go just sit down right beside you for anyway, because you're not getting out of this. And they just start talking to you about introducing each other. Where you from? What do you do? They genuinely want to know who you are, to get to know you. Everybody's there. We got all kinds of programs from Bible studies to Alcoholics Anonymous just for us. We got shooting range. We got 4 fishing ponds. All this kind of great stuff through recreational activities of regroup, refocus, and getting you out of the house. And it's so amazing that the people that go there, and there's so many I can't even name anymore, but all of them that know me know I love, because they make you feel at home. It doesn't matter what they actually did in the military. They treat you with respect. You don't have to worry about the lingo. We can still give each other shit over no matter what branch. It's just great. And it's like being at a family reunion of all your brothers and sisters. Because that's what I tell them. No matter how you shake the tree, we're all brothers and sisters, no matter how you look at it.
That's one thing that I spoke with Jamie Hunter about a couple episodes about, man. That is absolutely an incredible, the whole competition of trauma thing does not exist in opfob. It doesn't. And she talked about, it's one of the episodes, man, and she's an absolutely wonderful, I wish her freaking episode would explode because she deserves it. But she's a therapist. She's a reservist. She's a captain in the U.S. Army Reserve, and she's a therapist, man. And one thing she noticed about us veterans is that we love competition amongst our traumas, and it's bullshit. And at OpFob, that it doesn't happen. It's not even like, hey, let's not do this. Hey guys, we can't. There's no discussion about it. It doesn't happen. It's such a natural thing where I mean, me and everyone else that's down there with OpFob, it's just a natural thing to put your fucking arms around a veteran, bring them in and tell them you love them and you got all this here for you, man. And it's just, I'm so thrilled to hear that. I mean, JR talks about ObFob saving people's lives. And
It does.
You're an absolute testament to it, man. Absolute testament to it. So,
well, one of the things that I want to throw in there real quick was that we do what we call light the fire every year. It's 22 days because that's what the VA says. How many veterans are committing suicide? We all know it's at least double that. However, just recently, within the last couple of years, I'm able to talk about mine. And JR asked me to stand up in front of everybody in one of the closing ceremonies of the light the fire. I've lost a few of my own people. And it was good for me to actually talk about mine. And this is going into what you just got through saying. there's some people there that I didn't know that come up and hug my neck, genuinely hug my neck, and goes, "Thank you for being here." And there's no animosity. Yes, there's shit talking, but it doesn't matter how slight that so-called problem is. Everybody cares. There's people there sitting there listening to you. Well, stop what they're doing. If you need to talk, you talk, and people just stop. We hug each other's necks. We care about each and every one, whether you've been there one day or you've been there the entire time. It is irrelevant. And that's kind of part of what I mean by I get to go home. I get to be home. It has always been that way for me. And just my own personal opinion of how I feel about opfob is that that's my home. It feels like coming into like my mom's house and sit around with aunts and uncles and cousins and stuff like that. That's the way I see everybody there.
There's something I want to touch on, man, because it's no matter what your problem is, right? And I hate using that word problem. I've talked about it on other podcasts. I'm sensitive about using that word problem, right? But it's if all right, give me a second here. All right, Mike, give me a second here. So if the biggest problem you've ever had in your life is like a car accident that you got out of the car out of, and you looked at the car and you're like, my God, this is so bad. My car's fucked up. My God, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me, right? You're going to treat that episode that's happening as the worst thing that's ever happened in your life, right? But then meanwhile, you got someone next to you, right, who might be looking at you like, dude, what the fuck? This ain't bad. I had an 18-wheeler freaking run over me. All my airbags are deployed. I rolled over, and if you haven't noticed, I'm missing my arm from my elbow down because the semi-tractor freaking ripped it off me, and they never found it. You're worried about this over here? Come on. And then meanwhile, the guy without the arm has got someone over here going, hey man, I'm missing both of my legs because of this accident. So I love the fact that no matter what the problem is, it's not discounted, because that is the biggest problem that people have had, because that is the biggest problem that people have had to deal with. And it's no fault of their own. And I just find it so enlightening that there's people out there, man. And there's a group of people out there that don't put any type of qualifier on you need this, you're not you're going to be this tall to ride the ride, right? That doesn't exist. Because your problem, because the problem that you're dealing with is your problem, and it's the height of what you had to deal with, and it's not a dick measuring competition, man, over there. And I just think that is so absolutely fantastic, and I could go on and on and on about bragging about those guys, man. But you hit the nail on the head, man. Let's talk about your problems, man. And you know what? I'm missing my leg. You missed a couple house payments, so let's talk about it. Let's get you help, that type of thing. And it's just, it's such a badass environment down there, man. And I wish that there's a part of me that just wishes that all these veteran organizations, like everyone who's running any type of veteran organization out there, man, could just swing through opfob to pick up their mantra, to pick up their why, to pick up their how, to pick up their, this is what we're doing, our why. Take a little piece of it back to whatever they're doing over here. They'll be better,
Yes.
So
we've all kind of talked about that, but that's the thing. It doesn't matter what your problem is or so-called problem, but in reality, a lot of times they just want somebody to vent to talk to release some of the stress, where it doesn't keep building, and then we make choices that you can't come back from. Or for me, I had an extremely hard time of asking for any kind of help. I was bound and determined I was going to get it in time if it was meant to be, so to speak. I've dealt with out for a lot of things. I've had a lot of people and my friends at the FOB tell me that, shut the fuck up, Mike, and take the damn help. Swallow your pride. And I've learned to do that. Very humbled. I was humbled to begin with, but over the last 6 months, I've become a hell of a lot more humble. And the people that are around me, from FOB to some other people that I was fortunate enough to meet, you being one of, I got to sit down with Randy Couture as well for a couple minutes, but it's all about just listening. And, you may know somebody that I don't that can help person A, but person A may not may have a vaguely idea, but they can guarantee they can call person B and go, okay, let's reroute this and hold each other's hands, because that's what we all got to do. If the government was going to take care of us, they've done it before World War I. We have to hold each other's hands and help each other any way possible. It may not be monetary means. Just being there at 2:00 in the morning for somebody to pick up the phone instead of, something else, or going to sit with them and just listen to them talk, or going for a walk with them, sit in the park with them, or just going up to opfob that's open almost every damn day of the week, all kinds of hours, just sit there and drink coffee and just letting people be them, and let that person feel like they're not alone in this world. Because at opfob, I promise you, and you know this, it will come from about this, you'll feel this small, but then it'll end up like this, and you're surrounded and you feel loved. You feel like there's people that are in your corner. They may not can do a whole lot, but they know contacts, and we all know contacts, and we all start calling people and see what can we do here, what we can do that. But it's all about taking care of each other.
There's something else too about all this, man, and it's not just it's not just exclusive to opfob, man, because I think once we have good people, good veterans that start up their own organizations, I have this thing with me that I say in my personal life, that I say in my career life, and and then of course during the podcast, is that you'll never win me over, you'll never change my mind and my thinking, because I'm so set in this. And one of the things is, I don't give a fuck how many degrees you have, I don't give a fuck how many schools you've been to, I don't care about how many damn things are up on your wall, all the professional education you have and all that. No one's able to sit down and talk with a veteran and get it off their chest and say, we know we got you, more than another veteran, right? And
Correct.
even though, but the thing is, I might not be able to, you might not be able to, JR, all those guys, everyone else, Russell with Warriors and Natures, I got Josh Wiley with RSO Nation, right? Those guys might not be able to fix, they might not be able to be the end all, but damn it, we know people, right?
Exactly.
And we know, and it's just another freaking avenue, it's another tool, it's another medium, it's another option for people, man. And just us veterans being able to sit down there, and it doesn't matter who you are. We've had special forces guys around the same table. We've had aviators around the same table. We've had communicators. We've had bulk fuel guys. We've had supply guys. We've had fucking cooks. You name it. Everyone around the same table, right? It's all equal. Everyone cares. And there's no hubris. There's no bravado. There's no competition. It's all about collaboration.
Yes,
and that is one thing that when we have these solid groups like opfob and RSO and Warriors and Natures and everything else, God, we got so many people out there doing so many good things, don't we? Don't we, Mike? And it's just imperative that we got to get the word out to all the veterans out there, man. You got the word by chance. You got the word by chance. Some beautiful lady, an angel, put her hand on your shoulder and asked a simple question, are you okay? And you know what? You're fucking brave enough to answer that question, honestly. You were brave enough to answer that question honestly, and you're with us today, man.
Well, I do want to I'm going to backtrack and come off the subject real quick, well, so to speak.
Please.
But a couple of months ago, now this is 2018, I still have the text messages from me and her. She, at the time, was the highest ranking member of the Marine Corps League in Chatham County, which is Savannah, Georgia. I didn't know that. I still carry her card to this day on me. And a couple of months ago, Kyle, the commander of it right now, we kind of ended up showing up one night. He knew what I was going to do. She did not. Her and her husband both showed up. And I got to stand in front of their league and tell my story. And to tell her what she didn't know was within a few hours, I was going to commit suicide. Got to hug her neck, crying session, the whole 9 yards. But I showed her the text and read it to the league and how that story went down. So I was also very grateful to let her know that she is still my angel and why she was my angel, because she didn't know that. So that was pretty amazing there too. But I had to throw that in there, give her some props.
That's awesome. Let's, you know what I want to do, man? Well, we'll talk about that towards the end, man. So now there's something else that you are doing that in regards to helping other veterans, right?
Yes.
You have found yourself in a battle with the VA as far as, and I don't want to get too much into the weeds with it because we could spend an entire other 2.5 3 hours talking about this, man. And it's not that I don't appreciate it. It's just that I think there's something important here that we could talk about, man, because you have been in a battle with the VA. You had some struggles and you found some other people that are able to help you. So I don't want you to discount any of it for us, please, by any means. But can we talk about that for a little bit? Talk about some of the
Of
struggles that
course.
you have because you might have a busy day tomorrow, right? And that's why I was so stressed. You're like, and God bless her, Laura Horzog, on one of my other episodes. I was stressing because I had a technical issue, and she's like, Christopher, don't stress. So when this whole thing happened today with fucking Spectrum shutting down around here and all that, my mind was exploding because I know what you have coming up, and I was stressing. And God bless you for keeping me grounded and saying, "Don't stress this." And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I shouldn't," because this guy's got this thing going on, and why am I stressing this with all this going on? So, so why the fuck am I stressing, right? But anyway, let's spend a couple minutes, man, talking about that. You've had some battles with the VA, you've had some problems with the VA, and then you found a group of people that were able to help you to 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 help you. So let's talk about that.
I have had some struggles, mainly since towards the end of last year, with some foot problems and so-called diabetes and stuff like that. But on Thursday, I have a toe amputation. But the people I've got all this stuff that I've been fighting since the February to the first week of May. I was admitted in the hospital like 6, 7 times. Third week in April, I had less than 24 hours to live with jaundice. Kidneys and liver were shutting down. Made it back. Got this scheduled for 2 days from now on Thursday. But one of the things that helped me was my community in opfob. I was having a lot of trouble trying to even get a toilet seat, a wheelchair, whatever I needed from the VA. And all my friends, opfob community itself joined in. I got help, got the things that I needed. Then all of a sudden, after some congressional filings, VA started helping me, and now they're kind of still struggling to get the appointments that were supposed to have already been done back in March. So yeah, I got some frustrations going, but and we can get into it if you'd like. But that lady I told you about, and I can't pronounce her name, is Miss Carcinia or something like that. The organization that she turned me into is the organization that I still use to this day. And I've saved the name of it for now to get into it. It's called Veterans Benefit Guide. Used to be called Advantage. I got that dyslexic when we were talking on the phone. But how that company got started, and a lot of people don't know because it's on the West Coast, but they have a new one just opened up in New Jersey. They have some in Nevada and Colorado, I think. But they got started because many, many years ago, they worked in the largest compensation department of the VA, which is in LA. They realized veterans are getting screwed the hell over. So they quit and started their own company. So when you write your letters or your intent to file to the VA, if you don't know their verbiage and what they like to use or what they consider as severe or chronic versus acute, you're not going to get very far. These people have their own underwriters. When I was still working in that truck company, I did my physical there in the parking lot. I did my psyche eval in the parking lot. I've helped veterans from that day on, from myself to my wife twice. A few people from my fob and mostly in my community, whether I hit them up on the fishing piers, the grocery stores, in the parking lots, I don't care. If I see something that I think identifies you as military, I'm going to say something to you. I'm going to start a conversation. And this usually gets it my way. And they go, what is that? And I get into it. So then I'm able to help them, with continuing that education. And my purpose in life is to help veterans. And this company does everything for you. You just got to and I do kind of like a preliminary. I've talked to some of the management higher up, and they're like, "Won't you come work for us?" I said, "Well, because you don't have one in South Carolina, I ain't leaving I-5." But I tell them you need your military medical records. If you don't get them, there's multiple ways of doing that. None of them are going to be very easy. Get all your civilian records and your VA records together, gathered up, preferably electronic if you can. If not, scan them and get them done that way and put them on a thumb drive or a hard drive. It used to be you had to be on e-benefits account because that's where you would file your intent to file, but now it's on the VA website. but that's basically your preliminary. You have the website, so I'll let you post it if you're going to, or contact me. I'll help you. I don't care if I know you. I don't have to know you. You don't have to tell me your military what's wrong with you, because I tell veterans all the time, I don't need to know. I need you to have them, because they're going to ask you the exact same thing. You'll go online and do about 7 things. It's very simple. Put your name, your telephone number, your address, your full social security number. Yes, you got to put the whole full social security number. A lot of people are a little skeptical of that because of the way the world is now, but it's okay. Within the 1-2 business days, you get a phone call that's going to basically be your NDOC person to make sure and get you to what I just asked you to do, is get those records. Then they start streamlining, filling out forms, signing waivers so they can act on your behalf of the VA. You never talk to the VA. That's stress. And a lot of people go, well, how much you got to pay? I said, and I don't talk about everybody else's. I've helped about 77 people so far to this day, and I'm currently helping another one down in Savannah. But it's not about the pay. It took me 13 years to get my benefits that I rated when I walked out the door that I wasn't given. The struggles. If that had been that case, I might not have been tempted suicidal back in those days. That could have helped me and my wife and the child that was in the house, put food on the table, be able to breathe, maybe not work so much overtime, be home a little bit more, not killing myself. And I tell them it's based on the percentage of what they get you, which is also based on what's wrong with you. I tell them everything. I don't care how minor it is. Why? Because I had a couple down in Savannah. I was trying to get a vehicle, and she was a car salesman. Her and her husband both. He only did 4 years, got out. Well, there ain't nothing wrong with me. I said, so you couldn't use $500 a month? Because that's basically what 10% is. That puts food on the table for just almost everybody in the country. I said, but more importantly, what are you going to do when you get my age? Well, so-called twisted ankles or broken ankles or whatever, happen while you do whatever you did in the military. What are you going to do then? Start it now. Well, can it be service connected? No, it can't. Because you have 364 days from the day you walk in that door to file everything to get it service connected. Not everything's going to be service connected. However, you still get paid for it. And these people, I promise you, and I'll put my life on the line for them, I still brag about them. They're great people. They care. They can do more than most. And I don't want nobody to take that the wrong way. Your air vets, your VFW halls, the DAVs, VSOs, everybody's trying to help. We just don't have enough people to do it. That's the only thing. However, these people used to work for the VA. They know the ins and outs a little bit better over the years and how to do that. So they know some avenues different from other people, but that's just it, is that organization, any of the veteran organizations, opfob, some of the other ones that you mentioned, us as individual, which is what I do, helping veterans, I can pick up the phone, call you, another guy up in New York that I know that I've called to help another veteran. That's what it's all about. It doesn't matter, but I would like everybody to contact Veterans Benefit Guide. Now, there's a couple of things. If you already have a current claim, they can't help you. You have to wait till that claim's finished, then contact.
Just let me stop you for a second. So this is something, I had a former Marine dog handler on the podcast episodes ago, and I want you to check it out. His name is Josh Lacey, right? So he's just, I don't know, I like to call him a former Marine at large, right? We got Mike Russell, former Marine at large, right? Like, you're not tied into anything, man, but you see someone, it's a fucking conversation. It's a simple conversation, right? And if someone says, hey man, I'm good to go. You meet me at wherever the hell. I'm getting a drink off of down in Savannah, and you see me and you're like, hey man, you a vet? I'm like, yeah, man, I'm a vet. And like, hey, what about this and that? I'm like, hey bro, I'm good to go. Thanks, man. Right. And that's it. You did your part. Right. But this membership at large thing that we have with the veteran community, I think is awesome. We got Josh Lacey out there helping people, right? This guy's selling guns at a gun counter, man. How many vets buy guns? There's a whole bunch of us that do. Right. So Josh goes up and he's like, hey man, as I'm working this transaction out for you, as we're doing the 4473 and we're doing the paperwork, he'll strike up a conversation with the vet and try and help him out if the guy needs help. And then we got Mike Russell going around freaking in the low country area, right? Or wherever, just, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where we're at.
No, it doesn't.
And that's why I want this platform, I want this podcast, I want the viewers of this to spread this type of message, right, to other veterans, because we got more to give. and you're proving it. Josh is proving it. We got a whole bunch of guys out there that are helping each other, and it's just there's a time and place for the VA. There's a time and place for the VFW. There's a time and place for for the other organizations out there, man. Right? But there's always a time and place for you and me and every other veteran to touch another veteran and just check and just talk to them and say, hey, bro, hey, man, hey, woman, hey, chick, hey, sister, whatever, right? Just to check in on them. And we got it's what I talked to you about. It's what Stephen Machuga and what Stephen Machuga told me a couple episodes ago. It's about spreading the gospel,
Yes, it
and
is.
and I just think it's great, man. I mean, just keep doing it. FOB, the other organization that you're with now, and I don't give a fuck that they're for profit, man. They got to freaking keep lights on. They got to do all the work. They got to pay people to get veterans help, man. Of course, it's going to cost, but it's something other than that. You didn't have it yesterday, right? You got it today. And those people, I mean, they got to keep the lights on. They got, they got to put gas in their cars as they're driving around taking care of you and all that. So don't shun away from those type of people, man. I don't want any shade thrown at them, man, because,
No.
if the VA was able to handle all of us, there wouldn't be a need for opfob. If the VA was able to take care of all of us, there wouldn't be a need for warriors in nature. If the VA was able to take care of everyone, stackup.org wouldn't be needed. If the VA was able to take care of everyone, RSO Nation wouldn't be needed. Sean Abrusky wouldn't have to be partnering up with people to make coffee, man, to help raise money. So I think it's fantastic, man. I think it's great. And we need more guys on the street like you.
Well, that's just it with this company is that I use my own example. I know a lot of the situations for the people that I've helped. I don't talk about that. I'll talk about mine. Okay, so I fought for 13 years. I didn't have nothing when I started this process. There's no upfront money, no nothing. It takes a minimum of 6 months to 12 months. It could be faster, and it has, shockingly enough, but I won't mention names. However, if you never had anything and you've been dying for help and you seem like a lot of us veterans that can't seem to get anywhere with their percentages, you contact these people, they get you started. They'll tell you basically what the same thing. And every veteran, I tell them two things. If anything changes other than what I've told you, let me know so that I can continue to help veterans and give them the proper updated information. The other thing is that you spread it to the very next veteran. I don't care what branch they served in, whether reservist or whatever. I do not care. You pass it on. Get that same long text message that I send everybody, and you already know what that looks like.
I got it.
But when at the end of this, all right, so they're going to tell you it's a file. So that starts the 365-day clock for you. So if it takes you 4 months to 12 months, it's irrelevant because once that percentage comes back, you're backdated from the day you filed that intent to file. So if you waited a year, you hadn't had it for how many years now, but you end up getting a $50,000, $60,000 check or whatever the amount may be based on your percentage, then you pay them. So it's money that you never had to begin with. So like for me, in my instance, I got I don't even remember the amount anymore. It was astronomical in my opinion. And I said, we were back in that situation again, didn't have no food, no nothing. So I was standing in the hallway in between the dining room and the living room, and I checked my account, and I fell back into the back of the wall, had like $20-something thousand in my bank account. You'll know before the company knows. And I never saw the piece of paper that on the little contract thingy that you sign that you agree to pay based on whatever percentage you get. You can go back to them multiple times and have them refile for anything that may come up where you forgot or anything like this or retry. You still don't pay anything unless you get something. And I fell against the wall and I dented the wall. I messed up the sheetrock a little bit. And I started crying and I was like, oh my God. So we went down to, again, that Puller Sam's Club, but I had a different light on it when I saw it this time. So we bought like $3,000-$4,000 worth of groceries and stuff that we needed for the house and all kinds of stuff. Making a long story short, I found that went through all the documents and I found that sheet of paper of what I got to pay back. And mine was $8,000. And I was like, oh crap, I almost wanted to cry then. I go, oh my God, what am I going to do? Because I didn't have the $8,000 to give them back at that time because I paid some bills, got stuff we needed in the house. So I called the guy that was my caseworker at the time, case manager. And I said, "Hey, what I do? This is the problem. Just call the finance department or whatever you call to make a payment type thing." And I still remember to this day. And this lady answered the phone, and I told her, I said, "Ma'am, I'm so sorry." I told her the whole story. She goes, "Son, you don't worry about that. What can you pay today?" I said, "Well," I said, "I still need a little bit of float from to the following month, but can I give you 4,000 now and then pay 1,000 each month from that guaranteed check that's going to start rolling in that I never had before?" They go, "Oh, no problem. That's okay. You can pay less if you want. Just take you longer to pay it off, though." That is how they are. They're a wonderful company. Everybody, Sheree Jackson, which is one that I dealt with working my wife's case. She just can't do it. That's a story I'm not going to get into. But everybody, including the guy that I had from 2018 to the people that I'm sending now to management, now some things have changed to where they were helping most veterans that live abroad still carried some type of U.S. address, and they could still help because they had the U.S. address. Now they can't help them at all. If you live abroad, whether you got a U.S. address or not, you can't do it. That's the only drawback to it. But they'll help you in any possible way they can. They walk you and they hold your hand the entire process. You don't have to deal with the VA. They do all the filing for you. They do all the talking with the VA. All you got to do is just fill out the forms, do what you're told by them, which is not much. Most of the veterans, like one recent veteran, he did it from the comfort of his living room. He never left his house.
Beautiful.
Stress-free. They don't hassle you. They don't hound you with phone calls. And it all starts with about 7 things is click and join us on Veterans Benefit Guide. Again, they're great people. No matter who you talk to, they'll work through you. And so I recommend if you don't have a pending case with the DAV, the VFW halls, the AMVETS, or whoever else that helps that's near you, site, fill it out, at least listen to them. I can tell you from firsthand experience, I've helped multiple people around here in this area. I don't necessarily do it at the fob or opfob because I'm independent and I know they kind of have somebody else involved. So everybody that knows me, associated with me, knows that I do this on the side and I've been doing it for years. Be able to answer a question to where they're not so worried about it, or they got some kind of, well, try asking this and see if that gets you closer to the answer that you're looking for, or to the people that can answer that question for you. So it doesn't matter the help. Just be there and ask if somebody needs help. Knowing that you don't know what everybody's going through. I've seen people, including myself, that put on a straight face and you'll never know what's going through their head. That's why I tell everybody it's okay to ask. Mike, are you okay? I'll tell you. Sometimes, yeah, I'm okay. But the signs are there. Just say, you know what? They don't want to. Yeah, I'm fine. Hey, you like coffee? Let's get some coffee and go watch the college football game in the back of opfob where you sit on the couches by the fire and you watch the football game, or just go take a walk or whatever. Go out to one of the ponds and go fishing, or go to Rose Hill Golf Course because they're associated with us too. Get them out of the house. Get them not thinking so much. But you got to open your mouth. You got to be there too at the same time. It's a two-way street.
That is something. That is something that is. God, this is something that has grown on me in thought. It's something that I've had, and you'll see what I'm talking about here. It's we got to make it okay, and it's not the bullshit lingo that we hear. It's okay not to be okay. Yeah, that's true. It's great. But if you are a freaking veteran, right, or anyone, doesn't matter if you're a veteran or not, man. But if you're sitting there and you gotta, I don't know how we make it easier for guys to understand. And I'm not talking it's okay not to be okay. I'm talking about it's gotta be, we gotta get into people's heads that, hey man, fucking speak up. Hey man, hey sister, this Mike's asking you. Chico's asking you, this guy's asking you, Stephanie's asking you, Matt's asking, who the fuck's asking you, man? Right? We got to get it in there. It's like just to say, no, I'm not okay. What's up? What do you got? Or, yeah, I'm good. And mean it. Like there's just something there that just drives me crazy, man, where people feel like they just got to be in this cocoon of this cocoon with their feelings, and this cocoon with their bullshit, this cocoon with their problems, this cocoon, like it's not allowed to escape that. So that's something that I hope that messages like yours and what opfob's doing and everyone else is doing, man, eases that burden, or is able to make the punch through that. I don't know if I'm articulated it correctly to you or not, man. Because the way
to me, yes.
You know, it's just got to be something where we make it easier to people to not actually go, hey, I'm damaged, hey, I'm broken, you know, because I've used that term on other podcasts, and it's somewhat borderline offensive to me, man. When people are like, hey, you're fucked up, man, fuck you. They're not fucked up, you know.
It
No,
just
I'm
don't come out
serious.
right.
Yeah, it doesn't, man, and it's not because we're not. We're all different, and the experiences are different. And you're not fucked up if you got if if you have, I don't even like to use the word problems. I've said on another podcast, man, it's not problems, man. They're challenges, they're experiences, it's things we got to work through, you know, and it's like that stigma thing, man, where
It is.
it's not a problem, bro. We got this. It's okay. And what you're experiencing, this guy's got it too, and other people have got it too. It's not a problem. And it's just that thing about, it's like, I think of like a butterfly in a cocoon, man, trying to punch its wings out eventually, you know? And I just want to make it easier for people when you go up or I go up or other people go up for, man. There's just got to be something out there, man. I wish they could put it in the freaking water at boot camp, man, like saltpeter or something like that, you know, to make it easier after they get out. You know, I don't know.
Well, I have a personal opinion on that, and I know it's for the most part it's true for me. But you said the word. You got to get the stigma out of society that we have all created. For one, guys are supposed to be all the tough and the providers and the strong one out of the families and all this. And then I know for me, I was taught not to ask for help. Part of that problem is that, in my opinion only, is that we got to be okay. Hey, Chico, man, you got time to talk. Mike, you got time to talk. Pick up the phone. You can look on my Facebook page. A bunch of us posted every once in a while in different various forms of it, but it's okay. Don't, Chico ain't gonna, man, I don't want to disturb him, man. He's got a family, he works at nights, or he does this and does that. I don't want to bother nobody. We have to stop that. We have to say, you told me I could call, so I'm going to call.
Fuck yeah.
And until, in the older generation, it's just as bad as the younger generation. It doesn't matter, or anything in between that. We all don't want to ask for the help because we're embarrassed. I love your podcast because I know I ran through this a lot where, well, I didn't do anything fancy like Green Berets or Navy SEALs or SOG or MARSOC or any of that kind of crazy harebrained. Of course, everybody in their dreams wants to be able to do all that stuff, but a lot of us don't. But it takes that support system, which is another point I want to make later on, is we have to be okay. No, I didn't do nothing special in the Marine Corps, but I gave my part, my tiny iota, giving back to our country and to the United States of America. I did my share and tried to keep doing that, whether in or out, and trying to help my fellow brothers and sisters that are surrounding me all over this country. If we don't try, what are we doing?
Yeah.
We're neglecting ourselves and the people. We're failing. You're not holding up to your standard, because I still believe in that standard. When I'm in the uniform, or out of that uniform.
There's something I want to touch on too, man. And it's, we all could be men. We all could be strong. We could be into guns. We could be into pickup trucks. We could be into chopping wood. We could be into storming the beaches of Normandy. We could be into taking the first step on the moon, right? We could be into inventing freaking supercomputer conductor bullshit chips, whatever, setting up, rockets, private, whatever, man. We all could do that manly shit that we all crave, right? But as we're doing that too, it's all right, man, to say, no, bro, I'm not okay. It's not lessening any of that. It's not lessening any of that gusto, of men and veterans and everything else that we have, man, that we rightfully have because we fucking earned it. We've done some cool shit, but it's not lessening any of that. And that's the thing that bothers me about in a sense with all this, man. I don't give a fuck if you're an 0311 ground pounder kicking doors in Fallujah, man. It's okay for you to say, yeah, I did all that shit, man. It was freaking awesome. I don't give a fuck if you were, a 75th Ranger freaking element taking down an airfield, man. It's okay for you to say, yeah, that's badass, man. We love you. That's fucking kick ass. Let's hear those stories, man. I don't give a fuck if you were a combat engineer guy bringing LCACs ashore, man. It's badass stuff, bro. Of course we love that. Of course we love you. Of course we're freaking into it. And of course you want to hear those stories, but it's not lessening any of that if you just freaking put your arms around someone and say, yeah, bro, I need this too, right? I mean, it's
exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And we got all kinds of people up there to fight. The only people we don't have is Space Force, but they're nowhere near us.
Yeah.
But we all do it. You've been there. How many hugs do you see in an hour?
Yeah.
I mean, an assload of them, but we all care. Well, I mean, it's like, Well, you can't listen to everybody's story, but we all get around, make our traffic. You know, we all try and make a point to hit all the new people. We know whether you're new or not, or you're just coming and just starting. We want you to keep coming back. You don't have to come every Saturday, but keep coming.
Dude, I
Because
left
one of the very
I left freaking fob with bruises on my body. I don't know if it was from the freaking paintball that we did or the hugs I was getting from people, man. I'm like, I don't know what this bruise is from. This might be a bruise from Brady giving me a hug. That one, I don't know if that's a welt or if that's a hug from JR. I just, it's awesome there, man. And that, it just doesn't have to be there. It could be everywhere, you know? It could be everywhere. That's why I want this message to get out, man. And that's why we'll keep at it, damn it, because there's 17 million of us, and out of that 17 million, you know, it's a numbers game, and people are just need to.
You're right.
We need
we need
to get it out there. We do. We need more.
We need all of us to keep putting our hands forward and not be so standoffish as going, well, you know, I'm invading their privacy. You know, it can be so simple as I see people in the grocery store in the wheelchairs or walkers with their World War II hats, their Vietnam hats, or lapel pins that meant something. And I'll just start by saying, thank you for your service.
Dude,
You know,
if you're not opening an unlocked porta potty, freaking, you're not invading anyone's privacy, man. You're not.
Exactly. I'm going to get you one way or the other. I don't have to, but that's my biggest thing, though, is I'm not pushing a religion. I'm not going to push anything on anybody. But my point to them is that at least they heard it. They heard the knowledge. So they don't necessarily want to hear me or don't have the time, but they hear opfob or they hear Veterans Benefit Guide. And they go home, they can start looking. Oh, this is what opfob does. Man, that looks pretty nice. Maybe I should go. At least I got it in the brain housing group. I got it there. Maybe some of their friends might know opfob, you know, or they might know me. For instance, I've had a couple of them call me up and I don't know who the hell they are from people that I've helped. And just start talking. I don't care. Call me. Don't have a job anyway. So I want to help them. To me, I think I help a lot just by voicing my opinion about the opfob, how I love them, what the organization does. It's so much different than any other organization and what they do and how they do it. And then the company I use to help veterans get their benefits, their percentages and stuff like that. Everybody, if you love opfob, you'll love Veterans Benefit Guide. They're just as wonderful people. So that tells you, or at least for you, you'll understand just how good of a group they are. And you can't go wrong. Not necessarily, you don't necessarily have to use them, but if that's another avenue for you, try it. If you've
Someone
already,
else,
I
man.
went to the
Someone else.
DAV,
It's someone else.
it can always be, but you'll never have too much knowledge or not enough knowledge. Take all the knowledge you can. You may be like me to where I went through several organizations that do these type of things, and I didn't get anywhere because of my particular situation. I got into a rut. I got out of that rut through a very special angel, and I've been using them ever since. Not only did it work for me, it worked for my wife. We did it twice with them. Helped multiple veterans. I got 2 veterans that I helped that no longer alcoholics anymore.
Awesome.
I got 1. Some of these are anywhere from age groups from 22 to 82, and I'm not even kidding. I just recently did a gentleman that's well up there. He's a good friend of mine. I love the man to death. I will not mention his name, though, but there's people there, and I helped another Navy vet, never met a day in my life, at a fishing pier. He had a Navy hat on. So one of the things that I also like to do is I show my bank account of what I get paid every month. It kind of shows them that, okay, this guy's not blowing smoke up my butt if I can get that far. Or I at least pull that website up and say, here you go, on Google, going, put this in your phone, contact, and see for yourself. This is not a gimmick. It's not a slideshow. It's not a sales pitch. It's just my belief in what I've been able to do for other veterans to help them out. Is it for everybody? No. Well, can anybody guarantee you 100%? Absolutely not. Not going to happen. But they can at least try. It may be, just a few little bit of percentage for like the real younger ones. I had a buddy of mine at the air station. He got ran over by a semi. He was walking around with a morphine pump after duty in his cargo pocket. You know what I mean? So, and he's working for the colonel. But it just is what it is. And, that company, opfob, your company, some of the other ones that I know, some of them that you mentioned, I've never heard of. But that's my point, is that we keep talking about all the organization that we will vouch for. That opens up the door. Degrees don't mean shit. I only went to school because I wanted my money back. I didn't really give a damn. Would better educate get an education, but make me more marketable when I left the contract and to try and do something better to provide for my family. That's the only reason why I did it. Other than that, I never was going to plan. That piece of paper only tells me somebody that I worked real hard to get something and earned it. But it doesn't make me better than the guy living on the street. Doesn't make me better than the president. It means absolutely diddly shit nothing. But what does matter is that we keep giving back. Chico, are you okay? I see something bothering you. No, I'm fine. Chico, man, I know something's bothering you. When's the last time you went out and eat? Let's go get a steak or something. Let's go fishing. Let's do something. I don't have to bring that up the rest of that conversation. Getting your mind off that track and thinking something else, you might just go, you know, Mike, and start talking about a situation that's actually bothering you. See, I didn't ask you again. I'm not pushing you for it. I just want to be there for you when you do, or just to let you know that there is somebody there that cares. That we will hold each other's hand and we will be there for each other, no matter what. It doesn't matter how small or how insignificant, large it may be. Because as you said, something trivia to one person may be astronomical to another.
Yep.
And we just don't know. And it could be any one of those triggers that makes us do something that we shouldn't be doing. We have to make ourselves presentable, and we have to let people know, excuse me, that, Chico, if you want to call me at 2 o'clock in the morning, you call me. I don't care. I'm hard of hearing, but you're going to probably have to call me twice. But, you know, I'll get the phone. I've literally left my house at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, man, with my old eyes, I need people to call me instead of texting me at 2 a.m., man. I ain't going to be able to read that shit.
No.
So, well, this is awesome, man. What do you think? Is there anything? I mean, what a trial of you know, it's a cool story, man. Right? I mean, you joined the Marine Corps at an older age. You know, you dealt with all that bulk fuel. You know, you went to Okinawa. You came back to Beaufort. You did some contracting work. You know, they did an angel touch your shoulder, man, when you were about to end it all. And then you're here with us today, and you've got a great story about wanting to go out there and help other veterans and help other people, man. And you're passionate about it, and I fucking appreciate it. And we need more people like you, man. So I'll get everything linked up again for the opfob, of course, and of course for the for everything else you sent me, man. And I just want to use this. Yeah, please.
I want to add something in there for all the listeners and for all the spouses. I've done this multiple times at opfob. And it's not said enough, and we need to recognize this. Spouses that now it could be married couples that are both in the military, but generally speaking, the ones that are not serving and their spouse, whether it be a husband, a wife, whatever, is deployed, y'all are also thanked too. I've had people tell me, no, you can thank my husband or my wife. And I'm like, nah, that ain't going to work with me. I do thank them, and I have done it, and turn right around and look at the wives and go, I thank you just as much. And they look at me like, what the hell are you talking about? Shut the fuck up. And I'm like, no, let me break this down for you. I said, I was raised by my grandmother and my great-grandmother. I didn't have a father. So let me explain something to you that I understand a little better than most. And I see this, and I have no idea why, but it's something that I've been doing for a long time now. You have to get up, get your kids dressed, showered, lunch made, get them off to school activities, get them home. You got to work a full-time job. If you live in base housing, you got to keep that grass at 3 inches. You got to keep everything trimmed. Certain rules or regulations that are base housing recommended, or you will get a ticket. And your spouse is the one that's going to get the answer for it. Not only are they deployed, but now you got to put on a brave face so you don't bawl and squall and cry, so you help protect them downrange. How much guts and courage do you think that really takes for you to have nobody really in a 24-hour period for you to vet? That is a god-awful amount of courage and strength. And most guys that I've talked to about that would rather go back to Iraq and Afghanistan than to do all that. So I want all the spouses out there, male or female, it doesn't matter, depending on what the case is, because I know some were males and some were females. But y'all deserve a great big thank you as well, because none of us, no matter what we do, including first responders, can do what we do without the support of y'all.
Yep.
So when you say, well, I tried to join, but my eyeball was messed up and I couldn't, or I had flat feet or whatever, it's okay. Where are you standing at now? You're in the middle of opfob, volunteering, helping veterans and first responders. You deserve the same damn thank you as all the rest of us. So I thank all these spouses and all volunteers for what they do and are continuing to do. There's no question about it. Thank you.
I want to just, I mean, what a great tribute, man, because there's been times in my life seeing what other people got to go through and what we've dealt with, and your wife and my wife and other people in our lives, where you and I might have kicked back and we've been like, fuck this, I'd rather be back in Africa right now, man, than deal with some of this, right? So what they're going through and the spouses and the support that they have, man, it's absolutely honorable. It'll never Matt Waters did a great dedication to spouses on the opfob montage that I did, man, talking about opfobs out there taking care of the spouses too, man. So, but hell yeah, man, they're just as brave. It's true, man. All this bravado bullshit, man, it just needs to end and die. There's time and place for it, for dick measuring contests and talking shit and all that and everything else, of course, between me and you and everyone else, man. But those the spouses that say, I got this, I know it's okay, babe, I got it, just to take it off the mental plate so you can deploy and you can be deployed knowing, whether it's true or not, I don't know, but the fact that they're brave enough to say, hey, babe, I got it, it's all good, you go do your thing, I got it, we're good, you come back home. That is worth an invaluable amount of capital.
It's priceless.
So yeah, it's priceless. It's absolutely priceless. So thank you for that, man. So, Mike, you and I are going to keep in touch, my man. And you got any updates about your health? You got any other updates about anything? You got my number. Make sure you call. Don't text, man. We talked about my eyes, okay? So, but hell yeah, man. So I'll get everything linked up for this, man. It was a great conversation. It was different, and it just goes in line with everything else, man. We got a whole bunch of people out there that are doing great things. We need to spread the gospel, and we need to let veterans know that there's help, man. That there's other tools out there.
Yes, there is. And I appreciate you allowing me to be on and pass a little bit of knowledge on to maybe help some more people. And then hopefully they'll continue all this knowledge that we're all putting out, that we can say, well, I know Chico does this too. So maybe, and opfob and all these other organizations, somewhere down the line, maybe we can reach and hold hands of the 17 million veterans that are walking around on this country.
That's it, man. We got so many people. That's why I love Sean Abrusky and what he's doing, right? And opfob and everyone else. We have so many people that are doing the same thing. They're working in parallel with each other, right? We got guys on the East Coast. We got guys on the West Coast. We got guys overseas. I got episodes coming up about that, about veterans taking care of veterans overseas, right? But anyway, we have so many people in parallel. And if you put opfob here, right? You put Miles Gregarious Chico with the podcast here. You put Mike Russell here, right? You put Russell here, and then it just brings everyone who's working in parallel with each other. It just creates a massive blanket, man, that everyone gets to fall under, and it's freaking. But we got to continue to spread the word, man.
Yes, we do.
We got to continue to spread the word. So
yes, we do.
All right. So I appreciate the work you're doing, brother. I love you for it. So keep in touch.
I appreciate you.
Whatever you need, man. This invite goes for you and everyone else. If there's something that kick ass happens, man, you want to share it. If there's one success story, man, like, hey Chico, I want to tell you a story about this sailor, about this airman, about whoever, we helped him. You call me, we'll set a time, we'll get the equipment fired up, man. I want to preserve that story, man, because it's deserving and it helps spread the gospel. So, all right, brother.
I appreciate you, brother.
All right, Mike. Well, I appreciate it, man. Guys, I think that's it. Check out the links. I want to thank everyone for checking out the Not So Special Forces podcast. Take a look at the links, man. We got a lot of good stuff up there for everyone. I want to thank Mike again, and I want to thank everyone for supporting the podcast, and also for I want to thank everyone for supporting the Miles Gregarious Foundation. So we got more stuff coming up. Check out the links. Check out the other videos, guys. We are feet dry. We are returned to base. Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate y'all.
Guys. All right, thanks, everyone.